One of the blessings of my life is that I get to chair 6 McKay forums. These forums are put together, 14 leaders at a time, but meet every 6 weeks roughly to compare notes, to learn from each other, to share experiences, and to bring new techniques and tools to them to help propel them forward on their leadership journey. And my 6 groups, 2 of them are executive forums, 2 of them are SME groups, or small and medium enterprises, and 2 are CEO groups, so bigger companies. And the spectrum that they cover is wide. The smallest of the small guy may have about 5 million in sales and a handful of employees. And on the other side of the scale, the biggest company is well in excess of 3 billion and have 20,000 employees. So a massive organization. And between those, I get to work with all people from different walks of life, inspiring leaders and leaders who bring so much value to the people that they lead. And my privilege is to be there to open doors for them, to help connect them, to bring people together, and to massage and coach this process forward. When the COVID-19 pawpaw struck the fan, it was devastating to many of these members. And what I did then, at the urge of Nancy McKay, the CEO of McKay CEO Forums, was to immediately reach out to all my members. And I had about 70, 15-minute phone calls in 3 days. We had to pack them all in, myself and my EA Tamara, to get them all and to speak to them. And my big question to all of them was, what's going on in your life right now? How has this incredible impacted you, or this incredible COVID phenomenon impacted you and your business? How are you showing up as a leader? And how is your team affected? And I heard stories of utter devastation. I heard people using stuff like, this is catastrophic. This is like, we're afraid. We're disorganized. It's chaos. Different words came up. But then gradually also throughout conversations, and some of them I had to talk nearly off the cliff because the people were so devastated, so busy trying to put out fires and help their teams and their groups going forward, their companies going forward. Some of them were very tough conversations to help them focus. But some had a quiet resolve. The more experienced ones were already rising above this, even though we've never seen this before. And they were stepping up to the plate in new ways. And I gradually started asking them, how should we be showing up as leaders? And those that showed up in this way, I learned from those who were above this all. And the first thing I learned was that 2 words describe those leaders. And those words are calm and determined. Calm and determined. To be calm as a leader is incredibly important, especially in a time when things are crazy. But it's not so easy for them to be calm in those times. One of my leaders described it in this way. He said, normally as a leader, you need to be calm and determined, and it's like a little duck that is on a pond going forward. Above the surface, the duck is totally calm, but below the surface, the little legs are very busy propelling it forward and steering it where it needs to go. But now, in this crisis, it's like this little duck is going up a very fast-flowing stream against the stream. And this little duck has to dodge boulders, has to dodge branches, and above the ground needs to be still calm and determined, but there's some movement going on. But below the surface, it is just non-stop movement. The little legs have to go this way, turn that way, and keep the ship going wherever it needs to go. And so this is even so much more difficult right now to have this calmness and this determination and to show this to the world. But I asked them, so how can you be calm in these times? And 3 things came up. The first thing was focus. They could focus their thoughts. They could bring their thoughts, there's thousands of thoughts, they could bring them together and focus on what's needed right now. They were able to overcome the fear from their primal brains and bring that into their prefrontal cortexes, into their intellectual brains, so that they could use creativity, problem solving, and they could work through the next problem one at a time, so they could rise above it. And some people called it rising above the line. Some said, well, you have a vertical mindset. Doesn't matter what they called it. They were able to lift them from negative emotions. But then they were also masters of their emotions. They knew it's right to right now feel fear. You're supposed to be fearful when these things happen. It is right now appropriate to get exhausted, to get overwhelmed, all those things. But they were masters of those emotions. They could learn from them and move on and get to a place where they could show up for their teams in a calm and a determined manner. And what this meant for their teams is because the leaders are calmer, the teams calmed down. They could see, okay, this person is going to take us somewhere. This is the new modus operandi. We don't have to be fearful and chaotic and all those things. We can be calm and we can be productive. And it also started something else. Hope started appearing. And they can see, oh, okay, this is chaos. But at least in this one place, things seem to be going in a good direction. And we can go that way. So it brought that thing of hope. Another byproduct of being calm and working hard to stay calm is these leaders were able to talk to their teams and be vulnerable with them and say, listen, no one of us know where this is going to end. No one of us can predict maybe a month out. But we can work on what's happening now. We can work on what's happening tomorrow. We can together face this. We can build this together. And I won't have all the answers, but we can work together. And that vulnerability then built the trust in the teams as well. So that's the first thing that I learned from these leaders, that they're calm and determined, and their calmness spread through to their teams to make them calm, productive, and hopeful. That is the first thing. A second theme that developed was about virtual mastery. Yesterday, 2 weeks ago, a month ago, most companies were run in person. People traveled in traffic somewhere, they worked somewhere, and overnight many of them had to go home and work from a virtual space. And our leaders needed to start leading in a virtual space. Now, as Mackay Forum chairs, we were equipped already before, because we've been meeting virtually for the last 5 years maybe across Canada as Mackay CEO Forum chairs together. Our groups were not virtual, but we were. And so we've built some skills in using the virtual space. And the leaders that were successful were those that immediately jumped on board, and they got their Zoom accounts or their Microsoft Teams accounts up and running. They were able to schedule their meetings very quickly, and they were able to call their groups together in virtual space. They became virtual masters in control of this space. But they know certain basic things, like showing up in a place with a backdrop that is quiet and professional looking, in a place where it's quiet, where they can do their thing. They're dressed appropriately. They're standing up, which helps them to project better, so that you can lean forward, make eye contact, and your images are right on there, your gestures are right there on the screen. Also very important is they dress appropriately. And some hints here, something I learned from singing in a choir for many years and being videotaped every time. The videographer always tells us, use solid colors. Do not use anything that's got patterns, because they become very busy and the camera cannot work with it. So that's important, solid colors. And another thing, in these days today, we need to have some hope, something positive as well. So have some color on. If we all wear black all the time, maybe this is going to be the COVID funeral. I don't know. For myself, for example, today, I dressed with a red shirt because I wanted to show I'm passionate about this topic. I want to help you guys be better virtual leaders. And I'm showing up with my red shirt, full of passion. So there you go. Okay. So that's the skill here that these leaders have, is virtual mastery. And then what happens if they are virtual masters and they're masterful at using this medium, they can be then virtually connected to their teams, and their teams become virtually connected. Not only for work, but also for family, and also for their personal and health aspects, but mostly for work first. And then something else that came up there was very important, that the teams started doing better when it wasn't only about work. There were two other aspects that are very important. You do your work virtually every day, and we'll talk about routine and stuff later. But you do your work first of all. But then secondly, there's a thing called fun. F-U-N. Because when COVID came into the door, fun went out the back door. And we need to work hard now to start bringing fun back into our lives. We cannot just all the time be in a defensive mode and trying to survive a virus. We also need to thrive. We also need to go forward and create tomorrow. So the fun element needs to come in. And in the team situation, teams, when they were meeting in person, would get together around the water cooler, maybe for lunch, maybe for a beer after work. And what these successful leaders are doing is they're now starting to bring their teams together in virtual space to have fun together. And what we've done, for example, are things like virtual cocktail parties. We've had virtual lunches together. I had it with my one group. And we even had a high tea the other day with nice cups and saucers with our pinkies up in the air, and we were drinking tea together. And during that period, you're not allowed to talk about business stuff. You're supposed to show off your new baby. You're supposed to introduce your spouse. You're supposed to do fun stuff that we would have done in a different way before. But now we just need to do it from our homes in virtual space. So that's the fun element. And then, incredibly important, is the third thing. It's called robust conversations, productive conflict. We always had that. If we had a good team at work and we had a high trust culture, we had those things in person. And we never had them on emails or on the phone. Because when it's a difficult conversation, you need to be able to see a person's demeanor. You need to be able to make eye contact. You need to be seeing where they are at emotionally. You need to understand everything 100%. And you cannot do that on an email. And even on the phone, you cannot do everything through the voice alone. So it's really important to start having those difficult conversations together in virtual space where everyone can speak, can see, can learn from each other. But we can see emotions and we can feel it, even though we're not feeling it. We're not in the same room. But you do feel, hopefully you do feel my passion coming across to you now, my enthusiasm coming over to you now, because you can see what I'm doing. So those robust conversations need to happen, because without conflict, without these difficult conversations, there cannot be growth in companies. We cannot overcome obstacles. We need those difficult conversations. So that's the second part. Virtual mastery for the leader and a virtually connected team that can do their work together, that can have fun together, and that can have robust conversations or conflict resolution together. Then a third thing that I learned from these leaders was that they're incredibly focused and they're incredibly organized. Focused and organized. Every day we open the news, there's just so much bad news about coronavirus. What's happening across the world, there's so much chaos going on. In our businesses, there's just so many things that all need to happen at the same time. But the leaders that are rising above it learned how to focus, taking these thousands of thoughts and bring them down to what's needed. And where do we need to go first? Focused. And then they're organized. They know what they need to do today to help themselves and their teams through today. What they need to do tomorrow maybe further, but not much further. You cannot plan a month out yet. You cannot plan out 3 months. You've got to do what you've got to do for now. So they're very organized and focused to do that. And by bringing that to their teams, preferably on a daily basis with a huddle where they talk to their teams every day in the morning, and people can see them and hear them, get the hope, get the direction, get that focus and organization from them. They can plan their days and speak to their teams, and this get passed on. So that team then becomes engaged and committed. You get buy-in. My leader is focused, organized, we're talking about things together, then it's easy for me to step up to the plate. And if there's something that I cannot commit to, maybe that's difficult for me to commit to, we can talk about this. We can bring this forward. And that takes the process forward. So summarize this third point as the leader is focused and organized, and the team is engaged and committed. They sign up. The fourth thing, number 4, I learned from these leaders was they were health champions. They are health champions. Now, health champions mean that, like the old story of when the oxygen masks fall from the ceiling, you have to put the mask on yourself before you help your first or your favorite child. That's the old joke. You help your favorite child next. So what goes on here as far as health goes right now is incredibly important, much more important than ever before, that we maintain healthy lifestyles. As leaders, we need to be able to get enough exercise. We need to get enough sleep. We need to get good nutrition. And we need to hold others and ourselves accountable to do this. And this is actually very, very important. It's actually urgently important. In the past, it was good to be healthy so that you can be a better leader, so you have better stamina. But right now, it's not that you want better stamina. You need better stamina. And it's not that you want a strong immune system because then you can have a healthier life and it'll be nice. Right now, we need strong immune systems to survive, because this virus is going to attack all of us. At some stage, they say everyone gets the virus. And if your immune system is strong, it may just be a mild experience. But if you're obese, without sleep, without all the different things that you were supposed to have done, and you cannot fight the virus, it will be so much more difficult for you. So the time to get this urgency is right now, is to be a health champion. And also to pass this on, to have the accountability for yourself, and then have it for your family, and have it for your company. That's what these leaders do. They are health champions, not only for themselves, but also for their families. And then, as far as the teams go, to keep the teams healthy, first of all, they see what the leader does, and they're held accountable to look after their own health. But there's also 2 different things that are very important. The first thing is routine, and the second thing is boundaries. Routine and boundaries. You know, before, we would have a routine. People would get in their cars, drive to work a certain amount of hours, have a break, chat at the water cooler, work again, maybe get together for lunch. Have a routine, drive home, go somewhere. You know, there's a routine. And for the last 2 weeks, we've had no routines. We've just gone crazy. We've just gone 24/7, some of us, just to address all the issues and get through this thing. And I call it a sprint. We were sprinting. We got out of the blocks and we sprinted. We didn't take in any sustenance. We just sprinted. And it's now the time to start building the routine, because we're starting the marathon phase. And it may be not one marathon. It may be multiple marathons that we're going to run. So we need to start thinking about, okay, what routine do I need to be super productive? Because I need to be super productive during these times. That'll keep me healthy. That'll help me go forward with my family. And so what boundaries do I need to put in? And as leaders, we need to teach that to our teams as well, that no, you're not expected to answer every email within 15 minutes. Yes, there are certain days that you need to take off completely and reset and have a break. I mean, I take the example of myself. End of last week, I started becoming very irritable. My poor wife started suffering from poor Nico syndrome, because Nico was a poor person to be with, or maybe, I don't know, bad Nico syndrome, whatever. Anyways, and I stopped and I thought, what's going on? Because I'm getting regular exercise, getting good sleep, we're eating well, everything, but what's going on? And it was just, I have not had a break. I had not had a break for 2 weeks, like a full day off. And we just took Sunday off, the complete day, and I parked from all social media, all COVID stories, everything, nothing. And we just went into nature and sat and looked at the water. And it was fantastic. Bringing you back. Boundaries. Got to have it. Got to have that reset. And families need it. Families need time to be with their families. And we need to do that. So this part was then being a health champion and get the routine and the boundaries for your team. The fifth and the last thing that I learned from these leaders is that they all, and maybe this is the most important of all of it, they all showed the direction that they're going, and they knew what their purpose is. Their purpose as a person and their purpose as a company. So the direction is really important. To communicate this to the team and say, okay, I don't know where this is going to end. No one can tell us. We can't predict the future, and the future is so uncertain right now. But at least this is the direction we're going for today, for tomorrow, and in general. This is where we're going to go. We're going to go there. We don't know what it's going to look like when we get to the next phase, but we'll be together. And we will plan and adjust the sails to go where we need to go next. But that's the direction we're going. And if we focus back on our purpose, why are we on this planet? Who are we on this planet to serve? And how do we want to serve them? If we know that, then that purpose carries us forward. It really helped me recently when one of my co-chairs, Dr. Larry Olhauser from Edmonton, I believe he's in Edmonton, in Alberta, said to me, Nico, because I spoke about that early in the morning sometimes, before I get started, it feels so overwhelming. When I open up the emails and there's just, and it's just COVID negativity everywhere and people in trouble. And he said, if you ground yourself in your purpose every day, and you start it that way, it gives you the direction where you want to go. And it tells you, okay, this may be chaos, but this is where we can go. So that purpose is incredibly important. My purpose in life is to spread joy. I call myself a joy farmer. And if I think about that right now, when people are so strapped for joy, for fun, for happiness, isn't this the best opportunity to go back to your purpose and spread the joy? And if yours, just put your purpose statement in there and that'll carry you forward. And if you don't have one, now's the time to develop your purpose statement. Now, what happens when the leader shows direction and purpose? The team members become very hopeful, they become contributors, and they bring results to the team. So how does this work? Now, if my leader has direction and purpose, it gives me hope for the future. It tells me where to go. But then, once I start thinking about what's my purpose and what am I on this planet for, I start becoming a contributor. Maybe to my team members, maybe to other people. And I think about how can I be better for other people around me. And all of a sudden, the team becomes stronger. All of a sudden, I become happier because I'm making a contribution. And all of a sudden, this whole thing becomes lighter, this load. This curse called COVID maybe becomes an opportunity called COVID. We develop or we discover the silver lining around this dark cloud. And if we all start doing this, we start contributing, the results for the company, the results for all of us start happening better. And our contribution grows. So that's the fifth area I discovered from talking to these leaders, is that when you give direction and purpose to your team, the team becomes hopeful, they become contributors, and the results follow. So, to summarize, in my talking with all these leaders, across companies big and small, 5 areas came up that helped us see what is needed in these times of incredible change. The first one is calmness and determination, to be calm and determined, and how that washes over into the team to make them calm, productive, and hopeful. The second thing is virtual mastery. The leaders become masters in virtual space, and that connects the team in virtual space. But you also need to have fun in virtual space, and you need to be able to manage conflict and have difficult conversations in virtual space. The third area is the leaders are focused and organized. And by being focused and organized, they help their teams to engage, to buy in, and to be committed, that they want to be part of this. The fourth area was health. And the leaders are health champions, not only for their own health, but for their families and their teams. And they make sure that there are routines and boundaries for their teams so that their teams can be healthy and can have a healthy lifestyle for this long road that's ahead of us. And last, and maybe the most important part, is the leaders bring direction and purpose. And that direction and purpose translate into hope for the group. That makes them contribute to the well-being of each other, and it starts growing the results around them, and it makes everyone happier, and they can see that this COVID disaster becomes more of a COVID opportunity. Thank you very much.